So hi Brett, I'm glad that you invited us to your farm, or actually I invited myself. Could you please lead us through the farm? And also you just told me an interesting story how you even got to agriculture and how you got interested in urban farming. That's one thing we should mention, that we are in Prague, that's the capital of my country, Czech Republic. So it's interesting to see an operation like yours in the city.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming. Glad you're here. Yeah, my wife and I, we both come from the city here. I grew up in the suburbs in St. Louis, Missouri. We worked on a project at Czech Republic, the Czech University of Life Sciences, a student project where we had to redesign a 8-story, kind of like a panelaki, like a apartment building into a urban food production area. So through doing that project, it kind of steered us actually in this direction, more towards, soil, dirt, permaculture. But it was a very interesting project, and it really got us interested in food, where it comes from and how it's grown, and also thinking about the community aspect of food production. Yeah, there's a lot to gain through involving other people and not just having your own little space somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, it's we've been here. So this will be our 6th season here, and like you said, it's in Prague. You would never know if you look around, and we're kind of hidden down in a valley. It's a beautiful little spot. It's in the city, and there's a lot of advantages to farming in the city, which we'll take a look at a few. So come on in. All right. We actually, my wife and I were married here. So my sister, this is from our wedding. It was over 5 years ago, but my sister made this time. Yeah, right at the start, this is a nursery. So we propagate lots of plants here. It looks a little bare now because we've already dug most of the plants out and planted them there's a big plateau up here. And if you go in the direction of the river, Divčí hrady, Jinonice, there's there we have a 3-hectare field, 7-acre field, and about 1/3 of that area we fenced off, and we planted a fruit orchard in kind of like an agroforestry system. Fruit trees very far apart. In between the trees, we have all different kinds of edible bushes, like gooseberries, blackberries, raspberries, currants. We've got a lot of herbs as well up there. And so we kind of use this space, kind of the, let's say, marginal parts of the farm. Like you wouldn't really be able to grow too many vegetables in this spot, mostly because it's very shaded. We're right on the edge of a forest here. So we use it to propagate plants, and they're very productive. And we do a lot of, this is, for instance, is a black currant. So I just trimmed it back, which means I won't have fruit this year, but I can cut pieces of it. And for instance, like here, stick that in the ground, that will root into the ground and grow. And in a year, it will be a rooted cutting that then we can dig up and plant up in the orchard. It's kind of, I like growing vegetables, but kind of my heart is more in the perennial, like trees and bushes, edible forest systems. But it's nice too. There's all kinds of, like, this is rhubarb, for instance. You can see just poking out of the soil. This is medved chestnut. I actually don't know in English what this is called.
I think it's the wild garlic.
Wild garlic, yeah. It tastes like garlic. Yeah. Which is, it's really tasty. We had some in the eggs for lunch. And speaking of eggs, we can take a look at the chickens here.
You just said that you have sort of an agroforestry thing going on there. Do you also have chickens in there, or only here?
Only here. The main issue up there is that we're just now building a shed, but we don't have any infrastructure up there, and it's just far enough that unless someone could stay up there during the season, or at least be around there, it would be hard to manage it every day going up there. Even with like meat chickens as opposed to egg chickens, you'd still have to be there every day to feed them, change the waters, and that kind of thing. Yeah, but this is kind of the heart of the whole little enterprise. So this one, she was actually one of the chicks born here, or hatched from mom here, and she's a princess. She refuses to lay her eggs. See, she's gonna go to that white bag over there. And she's gonna lay an egg there. She refuses to lay them here. So every day, every time I open the door, she always sneaks by me and runs out. But so this kind of, none of the rest of the farm that you'll see would work without what we have set up here. And so we process an enormous amount of waste, in quotes. Everything, we get a lot of food waste from restaurants. There's hay on the ground. This is just spoiled hay that was left in the rain. Horse manure, wood chips, grass. We throw all that material in here. The chickens work it over, so they scratch it, break it down into little pieces. They pick out any weeds that sprout in it. And there's also probably hundreds, if not thousands, of little red worms that live in this pile of compost here. And that's amazing material, or well, that's amazing food source for the chickens. And it's also free for us. That it's basically a steak for the chickens, and we don't have to, it reduces our costs. It needs some work right now. We haven't been in here for about a week probably, but it's unbelievable that if you have a pile maybe up to here, within a day or two, it's going to be down to here. And that's just from the chickens. Like that's, so once it gets to this state, it's harder for them to kick through it, but you can see like they're already interested. They know what's happening here. So if I open this up, see there's a lot of grass and greens and sprouts, and they immediately go to work. So they start eating all that stuff. And that's what a lot of people ask, like, because we make a lot of our own compost, almost, I would say probably, most of our compost we make ourselves. And most people have problems with weed seeds, but the chickens do a really great job. By the time we flip it a few times and it gets down there, it's, of course there will always be some weeds, but it's never too bad. So you can see like they're going to work immediately. Probably this week we'll come in here with the students and we'll flip it again. But you can see here, like just how much heat this system is generating. You can see the steam coming off this pile. And I would imagine if I stuck my hand in there, I wouldn't be able to hold it in there for too long because it's so hot. So it's cooking. All this white here is mycelium, like mushrooms, basically just breaking down that hay and woody material. And out the other side, it comes out, I call it chocolate cake. It's just a really beautiful finished compost, and we use all that compost then goes directly on the garden beds. And like I said, the entire success of the farm really depends on the fertility that's generated in this space here. And the chickens do a lot of, it requires work from us, but they do a lot of the work. I'll show you our new updated egg collection system here. So I mentioned the waste streams. We pick up an enormous amount of wood shavings and sawdust from a carpenter shop nearby, and that really keeps the eggs clean because it's basically just a giant sponge. So when the chickens go inside their house, even if it's muddy outside, it's kind of like a rug in a sense that it dries out their feet so that they don't track like mud or any poop or anything up here. And then our eggs come out really clean, which is, not only is that better hygienically, of course, but it also saves us work that we don't have to clean them or wash them anyhow. And they did a good job today. It looks quite well. There might be a chicken still in here. Yeah. Just a few at work. Scared her out. So we might be able to see, they're not having their bath anymore, but this is, we're going to redo this soon because we've kind of changed around the setup here, but this is the bathing area. So chickens always need a dry space where they can dust bathe, and that's how they clean themselves. We add, I think it's called dichotomous earth. So it's this natural clay material. And we add that to this dry spot here. And that helps with any kind of parasites. That clay, the particles are really sharp at a microscopic level, and it scratches the outside of any type of parasite on the chicken, and then they just dry out and die. So when we were in here before, you could see them bathing, but they're, I guess, done bathing for today.
There's one
thinking about it. And so this is a new setup here. I'll have to turn this fence on eventually. Not right now because I don't want to shock the chickens. I don't have the fence on, but you can see it's pretty amazing the difference of what the chickens can do in a year. Sorry, not a week. In a week. Yeah.
So you said that you let them here a week ago. And look at the difference.
Yeah. And so it would have all looked the same if the chickens hadn't been here. So for preparing grounds, like animals, there's been a lot of criticism with animal agriculture of late, but animals are really great partners, and they can, it's not just like a usury. It can really be like a partnership that you can let the animals do what they want to do, what they love to do. And just by them doing what they want to do, it can help us do what we want to do. So in this system, we won't be, because it's in a forest, we won't be planting it out to vegetables, but we will move this fence around, and that way it'll be less work for me, that all I have to do is move a fence and I don't have to start up a weed whacker and cut at all these weeds that are growing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also good for the chickens.
And it's great for the chickens. Yeah. So they get fresh greens.
Yeah.
Even at this time of the year, during the season they have a lot of greens, because anytime we pull weeds or cut grass or get grass delivered here as like a waste, that goes directly into the system. But this time of year, there's not that much that's coming in that's green, so it's nice that they have the forest to access. It's my dad. He's visiting from the U.S.
Hi there.
Here's the headquarters, let's say. And so every Tuesday we set up shop where we have the CSA pickup. So people subscribe for the whole season, and they come from the end of May through the end of October. On this table here, we just set up all the crates of the different vegetables and eggs. People come with their own bags. That's a nice aspect of our farm as well, that we don't use really any packaging. Like all the egg cartons are brought by people from the supermarket. We use yogurt containers for things like currants or cherry tomatoes, and people bring their own bags, so they can just come and we just load it up and send them off on their way. And that's another great thing about being in the city, is that we don't have to have a van or a refrigerated truck drive to a market and stand there and just hope that people will come buy our veggies. For most people, I think it's fun, it's enjoyable that they come here and pick it up. One downside in the city, you got, for instance, planes flying overhead.
We are near the airport.
Yeah, they changed they're working on the runway, so it's not usual, but the last couple weeks it's just been like one after the other now.
Okay.
So there's pros and cons. We were very inspired by permaculture when we started up, and so we kind of, in the theme of permaculture, we tried to make the main garden not just all straight lines. And so we incorporated this design. I think it's called a mandolin. No, I'm messing that up. There's like a word.
Not sure.
There's a word for this, and it wasn't really
like for this specific design.
For this like design, and I'm butchering the word, but yeah, I just thought it looked nice, so we set it up like this, and it kind of fit the space as well.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I think is really important, that agricultural landscapes are beautiful, and it's not just like monocultures or big open fields of one or two different crops. Is I think in order to get people interested, it's got to be places where they want to be, they want to work. And so yeah, for us, it's really nice. It's a pleasant place to be, especially with the trees. You know, it has also disadvantages. A lot of vegetables don't grow well in the shade, but it's, as far as like from the enjoyment of like the people side, it's much more comfortable on a hot day to be here than to be up on an open field. So we have some of our wonderful farm students back here, Victor and Yitka. They just planted these rows of spinach here. These are kohlrabi that Victor just planted. We're doing it again in English. So we have a very high-tech tool that we use. So, everything we do on the farm, even up on the field, is hand tools. So
that's in centimeters, right?
Yeah, so in centimeters. So we got a meter here. So depending on the crop that we're planting, we can just go down a row and basically just punch holes at the distance that we want. So that's how Victor made these holes. We don't really water that much, which is pretty shocking to a lot of gardeners and farmers.
Do you do what's it called, dry farming, or do you sort of dry farm and water when needed?
Basically, yeah. So we do water when we transplant something. We water the hole. Yeah. So after we make these holes, we put, you know, with the hose, maybe like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, just a little shot of water that basically trains the root system to go down rather than out. Oh yeah. So when it does get hot and dry, they've got deep roots where there's moisture, and we don't have much problems with plants suffering because of the heat.
Do you use just rainwater, or?
We try to collect as much rainwater as we can, and we try to prioritize that. But we do pump some water from the stream. Okay. But like I said, it's really not much. That if it's really dry, we'll go with we'll pump it to these barrels here, and then we'll take with the like by hand with the watering cans and do a couple runs down the bed. But we don't have any sprinkler system or drip irrigation or anything like that. And another key to that system is the compost that, like you can see, this is a little less finished compost, but I mean, when we started here, you couldn't, it was, and pull out a worm. So that's nice to see. But you really couldn't stick your hand, you just hit clay. And so now, we have this really nice layer of really beautiful, like really great structure to it, and a lot of life as well. A healthy soil is a living soil. So if we focus on the life of the soil, and if the soil's healthy, the plants will be healthy, which means we'll be healthy too. So we were actually, just saw the solar panel, reminded me that the first 3 years we were here, we were off grid. And so when we did pump the water, we were using solar panel, old car battery, and a little pump for a boat, like a bilge pump. And about 2 years ago now, we've got electricity. Wow, it's a great thing. Huge fan. It's also great that we have the systems in place that we know how to use solar panels. We know how to do it without it. But wow, it's nice. It's nice to have electricity. We also, we're on a small scale, do everything with hand tools. So maybe worth pointing out that we have, like, we call this the bus stop here, for instance, back here.
Oh, it looks like it's got
So that's just to put the basic tools that we would need in order to seed or plant out a bed. And it just saves a lot of running back and forth to the shed. That saves us a lot of time throughout the season. Take a look inside the greenhouse.
What are these?
Oh, some kind of flower. It looks, I call it the firecracker flower because it looks like fireworks exploding. It's like lots of little flowers, but I don't know the name off the top of my head.
And so you also grow ornamental flowers, if I saw correctly over there.
Yeah, we try to grow mostly edible flowers, but some of them are just for beauty and for bees. But if I can't eat it, I don't know the name of it usually. Come on in. So we propagate a lot of plants in this very small greenhouse. It's really warm. You can feel it. And that's mainly because we have, in this box here, we have an entire truckload of horse manure. And when we filled it up, it was all the way to the top, and it's since already decomposed. And we refilled it again, and it's already back down here. But it's really warm. It's cooking very nicely. There's a lot of heat coming off, and it's going directly to these plant roots. So these are tomatoes, and we've got some peppers. And so they're using that heat to germinate and grow nicely, even though it's beginning of April here. So it's still quite cold. Last night it was, 2 degrees or something, Celsius. And they're doing fine. So it primarily heats this space for the plants that need the warmth the most, but then of course the residual heat is heating this whole space, and that extends our season at least a few weeks that we're able to start planting earlier. But that's also another key of farming on such a small area, is that we have to constantly have starts ready to go, that we can have a constant turnover of vegetables. So usually the same day that we would harvest something out, we would transplant something into the same beds, and no wasted space ever. And if we were to direct seed these salads, for instance, or lettuces, it would take 3 weeks just to reach this size. So in that 3 weeks, we could have something else growing on that bed, and then turn it over when that whatever else is growing is ready to be harvested. It's okay for now. Thanks. This is the newest part of the farm out here. So last year we had, 2 years ago, up until about this time last year, we had chickens out on this space, and that mobile chicken coop we call it the chickshaw. So we left the chickens on this area for about, 2 months maybe, to really eat everything, kick back the weeds, fertilize very well. And then we brought in a couple truckloads of horse manure, leaves, a lot of our compost. We bought in some compost just because it was so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, we created all these beds, and then we planted and seeded directly into it, and it worked out quite well. And this year, we have these textiles on here just to keep the warmth in. These are beets on this bed, and we go with Charles Dowding's method. I don't know if he created it, but I learned it from him, where we plant 5 beet seeds together. And so one will always grow bigger, and then we can just harvest that beet out. The next week, another one will grow bigger. We twist that one out. So it's because we pre-grow these in the greenhouse, we can put 5 times as many plants in the same amount of space that if we just put one seed. So again, just, you know, working with the small space that we have out here.
Was the acreage on this?
That's 2,000 square meters, the main garden.
Yeah.
And I would guess it's about 1,000, I would say.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I mean, subtract out the area of the pathway is like a really tiny amount of space. We do have the area up on the field, but we're mostly just growing like potatoes, pumpkins, garlic, tomatoes up there. And that's maybe another, I don't know, 2,000, maybe max 3,000 square meters. And so this year we'll hopefully have 40 to 45 members CSA. We sell to a few restaurants. There's a great microbrewery right up the hill.
Yep.
And yeah, we sell to them and a few other restaurants around. But yeah, it's just high turnover crops on very fertile soil. And just being kind of clever. You know, each year we're getting better, but there's always room to improve.
Yeah.
Yep. Just one more example of our farm running our waste. So there were some guys cutting some trees up the hill, and Victor went and talked to them, and they brought us a small mountain of wood chips, which for us is really valuable material. And we use that to put on the pathways. That keeps the weeds down, but it also is like a giant sponge that when it rains, really everything soaks in, so that when it's dry, it kind of feeds it into the beds.
And it also looks pretty.
It looks nice, yeah. And which, like I said before, aesthetics really matter. Yeah. I think that it's underestimated in farms a lot of times, and yeah, the beauty definitely matters. It's a very important aspect of what we do, and what I think like agriculture should be striving for, is to make beautiful landscapes. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, thank you very much for giving us a tour.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. It was nice.